Hello folks, Will from Ninja here, bringing you another nerdy video. Today I did the half-orc video, and on Halloween I did my tiefling video. So thus I am now finally done with the races. So for the next couple of weeks, what I'll be covering is the classes. One of the biggest reasons why anyone plays D&D, besides from possibly the role playing. Now, I personally have my favorite my favorite class, and that is the wizard. Now, sadly, we're going to go alphabetical. We're going to go in the order of which the book says them. The only reason why I did tiefling on Halloween instead of the half-orc was that's because I had a recording issue on the Friday before Halloween, and also due to tieflings being devils and all that, descended from devils possibly, that's why I did them. Now there are 12 classes in D&D. In alphabetical order, there's the Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. Now, each of these classes have at least 2 archetypes. Now, they get their archetypes at different levels, the latest of which being level 3. Some classes get their archetype at level 1, some get them at level 2. Most, I think, get it at level 3. Now, the first class we'll be talking about is the Barbarian. Now, before you get into the actual each chapter that covers each class, there's a table that gives you a brief explanation over each one. The Barbarian, the short description is a fierce warrior of primitive background, can enter a battle rage. Now, raging is a special feature of a Barbarian. Also, your race, you might have noticed that during the races video, I never mentioned health. I never mentioned anything about health or abilities. Now, some races get special training in certain weapons, such as the elves, and the weapons you got were based off which subtype of elf you're playing. But your class is what mostly determines your armor type, your skill proficiencies, and your weapons, and then you get your main abilities and for Barbarian, that is rage. Now, in order to determine your hit dice, and also how much you heal during short rest, so your hit die for Barbarian is a D12. So every level in Barbarian you get 1 D12. Now, your hit die is what you spend to heal during a short rest. For example, short rest is an hour. So, and say you're about to go into the boss fight, and you're on 10 HP out of 70. You can expand, but you're level 7 Barbarian. You can spend you can spend all 7 of your hit dies with the chance of getting back up to maximum health. Now, your primary ability for Barbarian is strength. I call them attributes rather than abilities. I don't know why. I think it's because of other games. Your saving throw proficiency is strength and constitution. Remember, we did talk about some races that give a lot to a Barbarian. Now, the armor and the weapon proficiencies you get as a Barbarian is light and medium armor. You can use shields, and you get simple and martial weapons. So, now there's a lot of flavor text to the classes description. The classes are much longer than the races. For example, the Barbarian, who only has 2 archetypes, has about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 5 pages to cover, and that is literally just one class with 2 archetypes. Now, the wizard has the most. has the most pages because they have 6 archetypes. Oh, no, sorry, 7 archetypes. Okay, so let's get into the Barbarian. Now, there's no specific quote from a book, so I'll cover it in as fine detail as I can. A tall human tribesman strides through a blizzard, draped in fur and hefting his axe. He laughs as he charges towards the frost giant, who dared poach his people's elk curd. A half-orc snarls at the latest. Oh yeah, I forgot. These paragraphs are going through different types of characters. So like we're getting descriptions of a frotting. Oh yeah, we're getting descriptions of a dwarf, a half-orc, and a tall human. So the first 3 paragraphs are a description of a barbarian of those races. A tall human tribesman strides through a blizzard, draped in fur, hefting his axe. He laughs as he charges towards the frost giant who dared poach his people's elk curd. Okay, now the orc. A half-orc snarls at the latest challenger to her authority over their savage tribe, ready to break his neck with her bare hands, as she did to the last 6 rivals. Floating at the mouth, a dwarf slams his helmet into the face of his drow foe, then turns to drive his hammered elbow into the gut of another. These barbarians are different as they might be, are defined by their rage, unbridled, unquenchable, and unthinking fury. More than a mere emotion, their anger as their ferocity of a cornered predator, the unrelenting assault of a storm, the churning turmoil of the sea. For some, their rage springs from a communion with a fierce animal spirit. Others draw from a roiling reservoir of anger at the world full of pain. For every barbarian, rage is power that fuels not just a battle frenzy, but also uncanny reflexes, resilience, and feats of strength. So basically what this first paragraph was to try and get out was they gave us 3 barbarians and each was slightly different. But they all harnessed their rage in some way. Now, again, we're going to go through a lot of flavor text before we get into the nitty gritty. The next bit is called Primal Instinct. People of towns and cities take pride in how their civilized ways set them apart from animals, as if denying one's own nature was a mark of superiority. To a barbarian, though, civilization is no virtue, but a sign of weakness. The strong embrace their animal nature, keen instincts, primal physicality, and ferocious rage. Barbarians are uncomfortable when hedged in by walls and crowds. They thrive in the wilds of their homelands, the tundra, the jungle, the grasslands, where their tribes live and hunt. Barbarians come alive in the chaos of combat. They can enter a berserker state, where rage takes over, giving them superhuman strength and resilience. A barbarian can draw on this reservoir of fury only a few times without resting, but those few rages are usually sufficient to defeat whatever threats arise. Again, we're getting flavor text, but eventually some of these descriptions are actually explained through mechanics. The next section is called A Life of Danger. Not every member of a tribe is deemed barbarians by scions of civilized society. Has the barbarian class, a true barbarian among these people is the uncommon as a skilled fighter in a town, and he or she plays a similar role as a protector of the people and a leader in times of war. Life in the wild places of the world is fraught with peril. Rival tribes, deadly weather, and terrifying monsters. Barbarians charge headlong into that danger, so that their people don't have to. Their courage in the face of danger makes barbarians perfectly suited for adventuring. Wandering is often a way of life for their native tribes, and the rootless life of an adventurer is a little hardship for a barbarian. Some barbarians miss the close-knit family structures of the tribe, but eventually find them replaced by the bonds formed among the members of their adventuring parties. So yeah, I particularly like that this section, the life of a life of danger, because it again it's before we get into it's right before we get into the mechanics section. Now there is lore scattered amongst the descriptions of the mechanics, but this is the last section before we get purely into the lore. Sorry, before we get into the mechanics, this is the pure lore bit, and again it eventually gets explained, through mechanics. But I love how they explain that a barbarian is not a barbarian in the most traditional sense of the word. The people who can harness this rage are called barbarians, but that does not mean they're barbaric. It just, for example, as I just read, barbarians can be very honorable. They can be protective and very trustworthy. Like, for example, we've seen, for those of you that watch Critical Role, there's Grog. He's a barbarian. And we saw other barbarians as well. We saw, I believe, the guy with the duck tome. I think that was Homebrew, the duck tome was. But yeah, we saw him. Both are not violent. But like they are violent, but they're not to the point where they will harm innocent people. They try and use their anger to protect. Alright, so let's get into the mechanics. Now, when you're making a barbarian, the stereotype you can go for is you're a rough and tumble frontier. Yeah? Where barbarians are common like some of the questions you may have to ask yourself is, what led you to take up adventuring? Where you lured to settle lands by riches? Did you join forces with soldiers of kingdoms that faced a threat? Did monsters or an invading horde drive you from your homeland? Like, are you a refugee with no home? Are you a prisoner of war? Now, what made, or were you exiled by your tribe? And then what caused you to be exiled? These are the type of questions you need to ask yourself. Like, are you adventuring? Why are you, especially if you're starting your campaign in a city? Why are you in that city? What drove you to be there? Why are you not with your tribe? These are questions that you should ask yourself when you're creating your backstory. Now, the general quick build of Barbarian is strength is your highest stat. Then it should be followed by Constitution. And then, if in terms of background, Outlander. You can't go wrong with Outlander. Now, my friend Blue, who plays Gregor, a Barbarian Dwarf, in my Friday game, which I broadcast every Friday, which is today, he plays a Barbarian Dwarf who's from a soldier background. So again, this is just a quick build. It's just so if you don't want to put too much thought into it. Now, your health, as I said earlier, hit dice is 1d12 per barbarian level. You start off with 12 health plus your constitution modifier. So the higher your constitution modifier, the more your starting health is. And your hit points go up by 1d12 or 7 plus your constitution modifier. So if I rolled, for example, right now I'll roll my d12. Where is it? There it is. So if I was to roll this now, as I leveled up, I was level 1 and now I'm level 2. So my current HP, let's say my con is 14. Actually, let's say my con is 16. So that will give me a +3, I believe. So that means my health is 15. I rolled a die. Oh, I got a 9. So that'll be 9 plus 3. That will get me another 12. That will put me up to 27, I believe. Or I could take 7 plus 3, which will get me to 10, which will then get me to 25. There's that gamble. So the bare minimum health I would get with a +3 con on a dice roll is 4 health. I know it doesn't sound a lot, but as you level up, there are some advantages. Like, for example, there's also the tough feat, which will give you lots of health as you level up. Now, your hit points. Your proficiencies starting out as a barbarian is light and medium armor with shields. You have simple and martial weapons. You have no tools. You have proficiency in in the following saving throws: strength and constitution. And in terms of skills, you can pick 2 from the following: animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival. Now, after I know technically class is before background, but you should really look at your background before you pick your skills, because your background and your race may automatically give you certain skills. So therefore, like for example, we know if I was playing a half orc, we know I automatically get intimidation. So therefore, I may pick animal handling, athletics, nature, perception, or survival. But if I picked Outlander, I believe I get survival and athletics automatically. So that leaves animal handling, nature, and perception. So I could pick animal handling and perception. That would leave out nature. So yeah, technically with half orc and Outlander, I pretty much eliminate. I would only get all these skills except for 1, nature or perception or animal handling. Now again, that's if I'm remembering correctly about Outlander. Now, in D&D, when you make a character, you can either get starting equipment or starting wealth. I'll get into that in greater detail later on in my video series when we actually get to talking about equipment. But if you're taking starting equipment, you start with the following equipment in addition to equipment granted to you by your background. You can start off with a great axe or any martial melee weapon. Now remember, we talked about if an orc has a great axe with their savage thing. So again, if I was playing a half orc, I would take a great axe. Or 2 hand axes. Then you get another selection of weapons. 2 hand axes or any simple weapon. I would take the axes again, just to have that sort of like axe motif, and also hand axes are a throwing weapon, but they're great for if I end up having to deal with like lots of multiple enemies, and I want those extra, attacks so I can hit each one, Now you also get an explorer's pack and 4 javelins. So even if I took the 2 hand axes, they can still be thrown, But I would also have javelins, which will allow me to have some extra range. I will go into Explorer's Pack later on. Now notice that the you do get an Explorer's Pack and 4 javelins, so that is not an option. So the only options you have are the first one is great axe or any martial weapon, which I'm guessing is going to be your primary fighting weapon, and then your secondary fighting weapon, which will be, again, for me, 2 hand axes. Or you can pick any simple weapon. Okay? So yeah, that's your starting equipment and proficiencies, skills, and health. Now, we're going to go into the actual abilities. I'm now going to read each ability from the table and then move on, before I go into greater detail on each ability. Now, from level 1, your proficiency bonus is +2. Your class features are rage and unarmored defense. You have 2 rages, which means you can go into a rage twice a day, or twice per short rest. I'm not sure. We'll find out in greater detail. And then your rage damage, the extra damage that you deal while you're in rage, is +2. Now, the proficiency bonus, we'll get into that right now. Before we move on. Now, when you have proficiency in a skill or a weapon, for example, as we said, we have proficiency with weapon. Now, again, the proficiency one only really applies to weapons and tools and skills. Alright, so let's pick one of our weapons. We'll pick a martial weapon. We'll pick the great axe. Alright, that's been our example for today. So we're the half orc barbarian. Okay, so proficiency bonus. The base stat, our main stat is going to be strength. So that means we get with our axe, when we roll to attack. All right, I'm going to grab my D20 right now. Actually, folks, it'd be easy. Actually, maybe I should for these moments I should also use roll 20. Yeah, give me a sec, and I'll launch up roll 20. And I'll drop down a basic orc. Okay. Not now. Okay. Hold on a sec, folks. We just have to sign in now. And I'll probably keep myself signed in for the future. Because again, we do have that game today. Sign in. Now we're just going to join the Lure Sport Adventure, so there we go. Let's switch this on to Firefox as well. And we'll get rid of the image. Okay. Now I'll open up Loyal's sheet. Now, keep in mind, Loyal is my character. Yes, I'm both a DM and a player, but I'm sure some of you may have noticed that my character does not control the group, nor does I influence the group. I just roleplay based on my character. Okay, so we have Loyal. Say Loyal. All right. In terms of, I'll use Loyal to explain proficiency bonus. Now, for those of you that watch my series, you'll know that Loyal is proficient with a katana, which is an exotic weapon, a homebrew PDF and weapons that I use in my games. Now, the katana is an exotic weapon. It's 1d8. Now again, on the PDF that I have, it's 1d6 and then 1d8. But some of my friends were like, no, it should be, you should make it more like a longsword with finesse. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll make a longsword style. But anyway, so as you can see, I get a +7. Now that +7 and +10. Now, because I'm a hexblade, instead of using dexterity or strength for my weapons, I use charisma instead because of a hexblade. I'm a hexblade. Now, my proficiency bonus is 2. Actually, should I not go up at a level? Hold on. Every class shares proficiency bonus at level 4. Oh yeah, still. So it doesn't go up until at least level 5. Okay. Alright, so my proficiency bonus is +2. So when I go to attack, notice that the damage is 1d, we'll use one-handed, 1d8 +5. So it's only using my charisma. But the attack is +7. That's because I'm proficient with it and I use my charisma. It's a magic weapon, so don't question it too much, folks, okay? Now, we actually do have decent dexterity and we have decent enough strength because I'm wearing the gauntlets of ogre power. So, if I was to... so when I attack, I add my proficiency bonus plus whatever stat I'm using. For great axes, it's strength. So if I was to attack with a great axe... Actually, let's just drop in a great axe right now, shall we? So we're just going to quickly drop in. Now I'll have to delete this because it's only purely for the video. There we go. We now have a great axe. As you can see, I get a +6 to my great axe. Actually, I'm not proficient with great axes, I don't believe. Hex Warrior. Did I fill it out? You gain proficient with medium armor, shields, and martial weapons. So I actually am proficient with it. Alright then. Alright, so yeah, that's perfect then. Alright. Now, you should have about 18 strength for your character. I have 19. So luckily they're both +4. So when I go to attack with my great axe, I roll a d20. Now this thing does it automatically for me. So I roll a d20. Technically I roll, if I was rolling with advantage or disadvantage. So yeah, as you can see, I rolled a 4, but +4 strength, that's a +2, totaling 10. But then if I hit with it, it's then just adding my strength. So that's 1d12, which I got a 6 +4. So yeah, that's what you did. So my rage, if I was raging, I was a barbarian, I was raging, that would deal an extra 2 damage. Let me check. Yeah, it would have dealt an extra 2 damage. So that's 12. So that's how proficiency bonus and your ability scores apply to combat. Now, I'm just going to make sure I delete this now because I do not have this weapon. There we go. So yeah, folks, that's how proficiency bonuses work. Alright? Now, let's actually turn this off. Go back to the image. There we go. Now, that is that's generally how proficiency bonuses work. Now, a second level, no change to proficiency bonus. Their proficiency bonus only changes from a 5th level, which becomes then a +3. It then changes again at 9th level when it becomes a +4. Then at 13th level it becomes a +5, and then at 17th level it becomes a +6, and then it stays that way until level 20, until you make a new character. Now, the features at 2nd level are Reckless Attack, Danger Sense. At 3rd level you get an extra rage, which means you can rage 3 times a day or per short rest. You get your primal path, which is your archetypes. No, they're not called archetypes. They have special names. So this is called primal. The Barbarians is called a primal path. Then at 4th level you get an ability score improvement. Now I adopted one of my friend Blue's rules about ability score improvements. Normally, but we'll talk about we'll only talk about what the book says for the time being. We'll talk about how I ruled them later on. An ability score improvement means you can increase one of your ability scores, or what I call attributes, strength, dex, con, whatever, by 2. You can improve 1 by 2. So like if you have to a maximum of 20. If you have, for example, 18 strength, which is giving you a +4, you can now get to 20 and get a +5 to your to all your strength-based stuff. That is pretty good. Or you can improve 2 ability score, 2 ability scores by 1 each. So that means if you had like 19 strength, you can only take then the +1. So that means you can add that one to your strength, giving you the 20, and then you can raise, say, like your constitution from 16 to from 17, let's say, to 18, now giving you a +4 to your constitution. So there you go. Or now you don't have to improve your ability scores. The book does say that instead of taking any of these ability scores, you can instead take a feat. Now we'll get into the feats later on in the book, but suffice it to say, feats are really handy, and some of them actually do come with an ability score improvement. For example, the tough feat, I believe, gives you a +1 to your constitution. So not only would you sacrifice getting a +2 or 1 to 2 things, you can instead take a feat and still get a +1. Now, my friend Blue has an alternate rule, but we'll get into that when we get to the feats. Now, at 5th level, you can attack, and again, so with your Great Axe, you use your attack action. You can only use one attack action, unless you're using hand axes. But yeah, you used your attack, boom, with your Great Axe. Normally you'll be out of attacks, but at 5th level, a Barbarian can attack again. So that opens you up to attacking 2 targets, or I believe 3 targets. Like one hand axe, then you get your extra attack, and then your bonus attack with another axe. So yeah, that's 2 attacks. So that's 3 attacks with your hand axes. I believe that's how it works, and then 2 attacks with your Great Axe. You also get another feature called fast movement. Your rage doesn't go up, and neither is your rage damage. Now, at 6th level, you get your path feature. Again, we'll go into the path features when we talk about the paths. Your rage goes up by 1, so you now have 4 rages. And again, also remember I did mention earlier about proficiency bonus, so I won't mention them for the time being. Then at 7th level, you get feral instinct. At 8, you get another ability score improvement. We already went over them. Your rage is still the same, and so is your rage damage, and so is your proficiency bonus. Now at 9th level, you do get your ability score improvement goes up. Sorry, no, your proficiency bonus goes up to 4. You get also now your rage damage is +3, and you still have 4 rages, but you also have the extra feature. You have one die of brutal critical. Now I believe brutal critical improves your critical hits just by the name of it, but it's 1 dice, so I think it's a set die that you can roll, sort of like the rogue sneak attack. But we'll get into that when we reach it. At 10th level, you get your another path feature. Then at 11th level, you get relentless rage, which is an improved version of rage. Then at 12th, you get another ability score improvement. Now, I'm actually going to shorthand these for the rest of my videos. ASI. Your rages go up now to 5 per day or per short rest. Your rage damage still stays the same. And at 13th level, your proficiency bonus goes up, and you get an extra dice for your. You get 1 extra dice for your brutal criticals. At 14th level, you get your another path feature. Then at 15th, you get persistent rage, which allows you to stay in rage longer. Then at 16th level, you get your damage die for raging goes up by 1, so you're now at +4. You have an ASI, and your proficiency bonus is still +5. At 17th level, you now reached +6 proficiency bonus. Your brutal critical dice should now total a total of 3. You have 6 rages per day or per short rest. I'm not sure what it is, and you get +4 to your rage damage. Now your rage damage is not going to go up now from now on, so I'll stop mentioning it. So by level from level 16 all the way to 20, your rage damage is +4. At 18th level, you get indomitable might. I'm sorry, I'm bad at pronunciation. Then at 19th, you get your last, and I repeat, last ASI. And then at 20th level, you get Primal Champion. And your rages goes up to unlimited. So you can rage constantly, which is very epic when you get into those level 20 fights. Now, that is the table. Now, it doesn't give you into detail. Well, we're going to go into detail. Don't worry, folks. I was just wanting to lay out the path of when you unlock stuff. Okay? We're going to also ignore the paths until the end, where we'll go into each path one at a time. So, which I think this is how the book does it anyway. Yeah, I'm right. So yeah, the book. So whenever the archetypes for each class are at the end of each of the class pages, like. So like, luckily it splits them up. So yeah, here's what you get for just being we're going to talk now about stuff that you just get for being a barbarian. The very first ability you get is Rage. In battle, you fight with primal ferocity. On your turn, you can enter a rage as a bonus action. While raging, you gain the following benefits if you aren't wearing heavy armor. You have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws, so you can push, lift, and survive some things pretty easily. When you make a melee weapon attack using strength, you gain a bonus to the damage roll that increases as you gain levels as a barbarian, as shown in the rage damage column of the barbarian table, which we mentioned. It goes to a maximum of +4. At this point, it's +2. Now here's the most epic bit. Now some of you may remember the Halloween dungeon crawl that my players went through, and Gregor took a lot of damage, but he survived because one, he's a barbarian, but Gregor tends to survive so many attacks because of this next bit. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. So unless it's magical or elemental damage, you take half damage. That's what resistance does. Resistance makes it so that you take half damage Remember we talked about tieflings having fire resistance? They take half damage from fire. Now, there are some rules about rage. It's not all good. If you are able to cast spells, you can't cast them or concentrate on them while you're raging. So any spell that you were casting, like concentrating on, for example, like invisibility or flying, you can cast. Not only can you not cast them, but you lose your flying and whatnot if you're raging. Your rage lasts for 1 minute and ends early if you are knocked unconscious or if your turn ends and you haven't attacked a hostile creature since your last turn, or taken any damage since then. So yeah, your rage is really dependent on you taking damage or attacking. You know? You can also end your rage on your turn as a bonus action. That's important to note because if you are able to cast spells, you may want to stop raging in order to cast spells. Once you have raged the number of times shown in your barbarian level in the rages column of the barbarian table, you must finish a long rest before you can rage again. Remember, a long rest is 8 hours, unless you're an elf barbarian. Now, an elf barbarian can rage a lot more often because their long rest is only 4 hours. So yeah, technically, elf barbarian can rage so much more, you know. But that doesn't matter once you reach 20 level because you get infinite. So it is. Remember, and a long rest is 8 hours, and you can only really do a long rest when you're going to sleep, I believe. So therefore, I was correct that it's essentially once per day. Sorry, it was essentially starting off at twice per day to a maximum of 6 per days until you reach 20. Now, here's where barbarians get really cool. They can have really high AC, which is armor class. Armor class dictates whether or not you're hit or you beat. Now, the way I use AC is, how should I put it? Generally what I try and say for when my players fail to, fail an AC or fail to beat an AC, or an enemy fails to hit them, I generally say you failed to injured, because simply missing sort of ruins their dynamic. For example, my katana, like I was fighting a big huge dragon, I kept not getting its AC. So instead of just simply missing a big massive creature that's right in front of me, what I decided to do was just have my katana skin across the scales, not piercing it. Not like I wasn't able to get through the scales. It's a much more dynamic, and it still keeps you feeling like, yeah, you're a great swordsman or a great warrior. Or if you're wielding a shield, instead of a goblin missing you, you actually make use of your shield. You use it to block. If you're wearing heavy armor, it bounces off your armor, Now, barbarians can get really high AC as long as they're not wearing heavy armor. Now, you do get proficiency with medium armor, but you're not encouraged to wear any armor, and here's why. While you're not wearing any armor, your armor class equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus constitution modifier. You can still use a shield and still gain this benefit. So a barbarian with really high dex and con, which will be strange, could really tank a lot of stuff. Like if you have a +5 to your modifier to your dex, and then eventually get a +5 modifier to your con, that equals up to 20 AC alone. Just that's it. You'll have 20 AC. Relentless attack. Starting at 2nd level, you can throw aside all concern for defense to attack with first desperation. When you make your first attack on your turn, now again, first attack on your turn, not round, not combat, first on your turn, you can decide to attack recklessly. Doing so gives you advantage on the attack roll, and gives you advantage on making melee weapon attack rolls using strength during this turn. but attack rolls against you have advantage on until your next turn. So basically, this is how Grog got like some of the most, I think, critical hits. Was simply the fact that because at the start of each turn he was rolling 2 dice, 2 attack rolls. Remember, folks, we talked about. I'm going to switch back to Firefox. So we're just going to turn off the image. Remember how I talked about that there's 2 rolls here. When you're rolling advantage, you take the higher number. Now, the roll 20, when you're using this character sheet on roll 20, it automatically does 2 rolls, even if you have advantage or not. If you don't have advantage, we take the first number. If you have disadvantage, we take the lowest number. Sorry, if you have disadvantage, you take the lowest number. And if you have advantage, you take the highest. Grog was essentially doubling his chance of getting a nat 20. Let's see if I can get a nat 20 right here. Let's roll about 10 times. See if I can get a nat 20. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. There we go. Got a nat 20 there. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. So close. We got a nat 19 there. So yeah, we rolled a natural 20, and because of my attack proficiency, it was 27. So let's actually just click that, and boom. As you can see, there is. Oh well, we rolled 2 sevens for our damage. Nice. So yeah, that is 14 total damage. Now, so yeah, that's how Grog got so many of his critical hits, because he was attacking constantly. Now again, but when he does that, he's giving every enemy a chance to score a critical hit on him. So reckless attack is now it's really handy because again you can do it at the start of every one of your turns. My opinion, again this is just my opinion, the best moment to use reckless attack is in one-on-one fight scenarios. Like if you're dealing with, like if your allies are keeping if your allies are keeping all the grunts and mob enemies away from you, and you're at the boss on your own, you can keep doing reckless attack, you know. But if there's enemies near you and you're fighting the boss, try and hold off doing reckless attack until you minimize, because again, each one of those enemies will get a double chance to score a critical hit, and some of them may have extra attacks. For example, a dragon, I believe, can attack 3 times. So like, imagine if there's a dragon with some kobolds, and I think kobolds get multi-attacks, so they get 2 attacks each. So if there's 3 of them, that is a total of 2, 2, 2. So that's 6 attacks, plus then the dragon's attacks. You know, and each of those attacks are going to have double the chance to get in a critical hit. So minimize it by picking when you go reckless. Now you get danger sense at 2nd level as well. You gain uncanny sense when things nearby aren't as they should be, giving you an edge when you dodge away from danger. Now again, they give you a small like description of lore, like, you know, doing it. And then the next bit is about all the mechanics. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws against effects that you can see, such as traps, spells. You gain this benefit. To gain this benefit, you can't be blinded, deafened, or incapacitated. Now, 3rd level, it does state you get your primal path. Now we're going to skip this section because we're not right criteria. We're also going to skip ability score improvement at 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th and 19th, because again I've already described what they are. Now at 5th level you get your extra attack. At 15th, at 15th you get an extra attack. So at the beginning of 5th level you can attack twice instead of once whenever you take the attack action on your turn. Now note it says attack action, so you can't like use an action to pick something up, you know, and then attack with it. You know, you have to actually attack in order to get the benefit of extra attack. Now you also get fast movement, which increases your movement speed by 10 feet while you aren't wearing heavy armor. So as we stated earlier, if you're a half orc, your movement speed is 30. With this, your movement speed becomes 40. It's essentially to help you get into melee a lot sooner. Now at 5th level you get 7th level you get Feral Instinct. By 7th level your instincts are so honed that you have advantage on initiative rolls. Additionally, if you are surprised at the beginning of combat and aren't incapacitated, you can act normally on your first turn, but only if you enter a rage before doing anything else on that turn. So normally say you're on watch and an enemy manages to beat your perception skill, so they would surprise, so that enemy party will attack your party. Normally, the entire party of enemies will get to attack before anyone else on your turn. Sorry, anyone else on your team. With Feral Instinct, even if the enemy surprises you and you don't have the highest initiative and they all get a free round before your team does, you yourself can be like, okay, I'm going to use my Feral Instinct to jump out at them, back at them. So like that way you can potentially bog down some of the enemy before they get a chance to completely take your allies by unaware. Now again, they still get a free round, so like your teammates still can't act until the second round, but you're taking that extra initiative to help out your team by get a chance to go. And then when you do get the chance to roll initiative without anyone surprising you, you roll twice. Now here's Brutal Critical. Now I did not know much about it, so we'll get into that now. At 9th level, you can roll 1 additional damage weapon die when determining the extra damage for a critical hit with a melee attack. Oh wow. So as I said with the greatsword, sorry, hold on, let's go back to roll 20. Ooh. So, like I said with the great axe, when you score a critical hit with savage attack, you add that essentially gives you 2. That makes you roll 2 d12 already. Then with a critical hit, that would go up to 3 d hit, because again you double the damage die when you score a critical hit. So that's so that's 2 d8s. Then savage attacker, that's 3. This allows you to get up to 4 d12. So that means your maximum. Okay, well let's go with let's say if you maximize your strength, that means you can go from 12. So your maximum damage will be 12, 24, 36. I'm getting bad at maths. 48. That's 48 plus the 5 from your strength. So that goes up to 53 plus then possibly 4. Sorry, and then again if you're raging and you have your max level, that's then an extra 4. Oh wow. Dear God, barbarians can do a lot of damage, folks, when they score a critical hit. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah. And again, let's see. The turn increases to 2 additional dice. Oh wow. So yeah, you would roll all of them. Oh wow. You would actually roll all the damage dice. And does it refresh? The increases? Nope. So yeah, that's unlimited. So as long as you're getting critical hits, you roll. So by a level 20, so a level 20 barbarian, a level 20 half orc barbarian, when he scores a critical hit, rolls 5 d12s. That will get him up. No, the 5 d12s alone will get him up to 60 damage plus rage damage. That's 64. Then plus strength modifier, which could be 5 if you have plus 5 to your strength. That's 69. Oh well, funny enough, that's you dealing 69 damage with just one swing because it was a critical hit, and that's not counting if it was a that's not counting if it was a +3 weapon, or if it had any special additional damage based on enemy type, or say elemental type, because you can get axes that deal like a d6 fire damage. So like this is just taking a mundane axe. So all that maths was just you basically getting your strengths up to 20 based on you guys scoring a critical hit while raging on a mundane great axe. 69 damage. Mundane great axe. Dear God, barbarians are scary. Barbarians are now proper scary. Oh wow. You get Relentless Rage at 11. Starting at 11th level, your rage can keep you fighting despite grievous wounds. If you drop to 0 hit points while you're raging and don't die outright, you can make a DC 10 Constitution saving throw. If you succeed, you drop to 1 HP instead. Each time you use this feature after the first, the DC increases by 5. When you finish a short or long rest, the DC resets to 10. So yeah, that is like the half-orc's ability to get back up, but they just automatically do it. So you can save your Relentless Rage for after you go after the first ability with Savage Orc. So like your Savage Orc's ability kicks in, boom, you're back to 1 HP. Yes, boom, boom, boom. You still manage to get attacks in. The boss then finishes off again. You roll a DC, you roll a con save, which again, you would have your proficiency, like, so it could, again, a level 20 one would have a plus 11. So yeah, you're guaranteed to pass that first one unless you just score that one. So you're like, boom, you're still back up on 1 HP. Boom, boom, boom. You fight, you continue fighting. You roll. The boss, he's like, oh my god, stay dead. Hits you again. You drop back down to 0. You roll again. Con save and throw. Again, plus 11. So the DC is 15. So you roll like a 4. So you get 15. Boom, you're back up again. You've been knocked down now about, let's see, Orc. You've been knocked down now 3 times, but you're back up. You're swinging. DC goes up to 20. Plus 11. You roll in that 9. That gets you to 20. You're back up. Then 25. Like, dear God, folks, Barbarians at level 11 can just keep on fighting as long as the dice are with them, as long as they have a good enough con. Oh my god, I've been underestimating Barbarians in terms of tankiness. Dear God, we're only at level 11 and we're not even talking about the archetypes yet. Persistent Rage. Now again, I've played a Barbarian, but only from level 2 to 3. So that's all I looked at. Beginning at 15th level, your rage is so fierce that it ends early only if you fall unconscious or if you choose to end it. So you can have endless rage. Indomitable might. Begin at 18th level. If your total for a strength check is less than your strength score, you can use that score in place of the total. For a strength check less than your... Oh wow, so let's say you have 20 strength and you roll an 8. You then use your strength then. You'll use the 20 strength that you have. Wow. That is brilliant. Now we're getting to the last ability of a Barbarian. Now I can't imagine how good this is going to be. At 20th level, you embody the power of the wilds. Your strength and constitution increases by 4. Your maximum for these scores is now 24. So if you raise your strength and constitution to 20, they then automatically go up to 24. Which I think is at +6. Sorry, no, I think it's at +7. at this point. Then let me just double check this, folks, because there are items that do improve your, that can actually raise your attributes. Now some of them do state a specific number, but there's some that don't, like they just say plus whatever. So let's quickly check this now. Oh god, okay, so we're talking 24. 24 is plus 7 plus, so that means your attack, your melee attack weapons, which say, like again for the great axe, would be strength plus proficiency. So to hit, it'll be 7 plus 6 because of proficiency. That is a total of 13 plus then yeah, that's it. So that's, yeah, so you get plus 13 to your attacks. Wait. Yeah, plus 13 to your attack. Sorry, folks. I'm just unbelievably, like, wow. And then when you roll your damage dice, okay, from, so yeah, so the 20, it's plus 5. So that means you roll your damage dice for weapons is plus 7. So instead of just adding a simple plus 5 to that damage, you now add a 7. That is completely, wow. That is scary, folks. That is absolutely terrifying as a DM. Like, wow. I have to keep an eye on Gregor. And now, folks, we're now going to go into the primal paths. Now, here's the lore bit. Rage burns in every barbarian's heart, a furnace that drives him or her towards greatness. Different barbarians attribute their rage to different sources. However, for some it is an internal reservoir where pain, grief, and anger are forged into a fury hard as steel. Others see it as a spiritual blessing, a gift of a totem element. Now, the first archetype we're going to be talking about is the Berserker. Next is the Totem. For some barbarians, rage is a means to an end, that end being violence. The path of the Berserker is a path of untrammeled fury, slick with blood. As you enter a Berserker's rage, you trill in the chaos of battle, heedless of your own health or well-being. Now, the following abilities you get for a Berserker. You get one at 3rd level. So as soon as you pick this path at 3rd level, you get this ability. Starting when you choose this path at 3rd level, you can go into a frenzy when you rage. If you do so, for the duration of your rage, you can make a single melee weapon attack as a bonus action on each of your turns after this one. When your rage ends, you suffer 1 level of exhaustion. Wait, so if you do so, your duration of your rage, make 1 melee attack as a bonus action. So yeah, that means you can, well, that means you can get, with extra attack, you can get 3 attacks, 1 bonus, 1 attack action, but extra attack. So that's 3 attacks. And again, they can all be relentless. I know only one can be relentless. So, but yeah, but again, there you get a point of exhaustion, which we'll go over exhaustion later on. There, at 6th level of a Berserker, you get Mindless Rage. Begin at 6th level. You can't be charmed, you can't be frightened, and while you're raging. And if you are charmed or frightened and you enter a rage, the effect is suspended for the duration of the rage. So you can temporarily, break someone's influence over your mind by raging, which only lasts a certain amount of time. You only suspend their ability, so as soon as you exit that rage, they get full control over you back. But you get rid of that. But if you have a persistent rage, which is at 15th, it's endless. Now, Intimidating Presence. At 10th level, you can use your action to frighten someone with your menacing presence. When you do so, choose one creature that you can see within 30 feet. If the creature can see or hear you, it must succeed a Wisdom DC 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier, or be frightened, or until the end of your next turn. On subsequent turns, you can use your action to extend the duration of this effect on the frightened creature until the end of your next turn. This effect ends if the creature turns out of line of sight or more than 60 feet away from you. If the creature succeeds on a saving throw, it can't be frightened. You can't use this feature on it again for the next 24 hours. So yeah, it's a bit of a toss-up. Like, frightened means it can't really attack you, so it's sort of useful. Retaliation. At 14th level, when you take damage from a creature that is within 5 feet of you, you can use your reaction to make a melee attack against that creature. So again, as I said earlier, folks, remember how I talked about if an enemy was to drop you to 0 hit points, but then you used your abilities to get back up? You could use your reaction to get back up, take an extra swing at it. So yeah. The Berserker is all about the attacks. Now we're going to talk about the Path of the Totem Warrior, which is good because we're now reached over an hour. So yeah, folks, as I said, talking about the classes is going to be the longest of the videos, especially Wizard. Right. The Path of the Totem Warrior is a spiritual journey as a barbarian accepts a spirit animal as a guide, protector, and inspiration. In battle, your totem spirit fills you with supernatural might, adding magical fuel to your barbarian rage. Most barbarian tribes consider a totem animal to be akin to a particular clan. In such cases, it is unusual for an individual to have more than one totem animal spirit, though exceptions exist. Now, the first feature you get as a spirit, you get 2 abilities starting out. So here's what you get. At 3rd level, yours is a path that seeks attunement with the natural world, giving you a kinship with beasts. At 3rd level, when you adopt this path, you gain the ability to cast beast sense and speak with animal spells, but only as rituals. So a bare minimum of a minute ritual casting. At 3rd level, when you adopt this path, you choose a totem spirit to gain its features. You must make or acquire a physical totem object, an amulet or similar adornment that incorporates fur or feathers or claws, teeth, or bones of that totem animal. At your option, you also gain minor physical attributes that are reminiscent of your totem spirit. For example, if you have a bear totem spirit, you might be unusually hairy or thick-skinned. Or if your totem is an eagle, your eyes turn a bright yellow. Now, folks, you may remember that Gregor is a bear totem barbarian. Your totem animal might be an animal related to those listed here, but more appropriate to your homeland. For example, you could choose a hawk or vulture in place of an eagle. So yeah, some creatures don't live everywhere, so you may have to look for substitutes. Now the bear. While raging, you have resistance to all damage except psychic. Your spirit of the bear makes you tough enough to stand up to any punishment. Now again, this is why Gregor was able to tank that frost attack that dealt, I believe, 40 damage. Maximum damage. So it dealt him 40 damage, but because he's the bear totem thing, he was able to half that. So he only took, instead of 40, he took 20 damage. If you choose Eagle, while you are raging and aren't wearing heavy armor, other creatures have disadvantage on opportunity attacks rolls against you, and you can use the dash action as a bonus action on your turn. The spirit of the eagle makes you into a predator who can weave through the fray with ease. Now, the wolf totem. While you're raging, your friends have advantage on melee attack rolls against any creature within 5 feet of you that is hostile to you. The spirit of the wolf makes you a leader of hunters. That's not to say you're automatically the leader of the group. It's just you're trying to embody what wolves do. Now, at 6th level, you gain a magical benefit based on the totem animal of your choice. You can choose the same animal you select at 3rd level or a different one. If you pick bear, you gain the might of a bear. Your carrying capacity, including maximum load and maximum lift, is doubled, and you have advantage on strength checks made to push, pull, lift, or break objects. Eagle. You gain the eyesight of an eagle. You can see up to 1 mile away with no difficulty, able to discern even the fine details as through looking at something no more than 100 feet away from you. Additionally, dim light does not impose disadvantage on your wisdom perception checks. Now, Gregor has dark vision, I believe, and now also magical darkness vision. So, yeah, that last ability with dim light does not really apply to him. So, you gain the hunting sensibility of a wolf. You can track other creatures while traveling at a fast pace, and can move stealthily while traveling at a normal pace. See chapter 8 for rules on travel pace. Now at 10th level, you can cast Commune with Nature spell, but only as a ritual. When you do so, a spiritual version of one of the animals you choose for your totem spirit or aspect of the beast appears to you to convey the information you seek. Now, here's the final ability of the totem at 14th level. Again, it's based on 3 picks. Now, there were additions to the Path of the Totem made from the Skag, Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, and I think other books. But we're going to focus on the player handbook ones. At 14th level, you gain magical benefit based on the totem animal of your choice. You can choose the same animal you selected previously or a different one. So you can actually have all 3 animals as your totems. Or you can pick only one animal to embody. Bear. While you are raging, any creature that is within 5 feet of you that's hostile to you has disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you or another character with this feature. An enemy is immune to this effect if it can't see or hear you, or if it can't be frightened. So bear generally makes you all about strength. The eagle. While raging, you have a flying speed equal to your current walk speed. This benefit only works in short bursts. If you fall if you end your turn in the air or nothing else is holding you aloft. Now, I don't know. I think that only lasts for as long as you have movement. So 40 feet. So if you end your 40 feet up while still in the air, you drop. But again, the eagle, basically what the eagle totems are trying to do is make you more versatile on the battlefield. Like, you're not bogged down from going from one enemy to the next enemy to another enemy. So if you, for example, if the boss is in the back row and there's a whole bunch of enemies in front of you, essentially what the eagle does is allows you to spot the enemy and, regardless of what's in your path, be able to reach your enemy. You know, that's what the eagle's about. Now the wolf. Remember, the wolf so far has been personifying you, tracking and help. Basically, you're acting as sort of like a guide for your party, or as a distraction. Like it's all about working with your teammates. While you're raging, you can use a bonus action on your turn to knock a large or smaller creature prone when you hit it with a melee weapon attack. So again, the wolf allows you to knock an enemy prone, so that your allies would then be able to even cream into it even harder. And again, so it's really good. Now again, with your extra attacks, you get 2 attacks. So yeah, with those 2 attacks, you can use one to knock him prone and then attack him again, gaining the benefit yourself. But if you have melee fire allies around you, they, your wolf pack thing would, trigger as well. Now, races I can recommend Barbarian for. Half Orc definitely, because the amount of damage you can deal with a single mundane Grey Axe is unreal. And you also get Strength and Con. Another race is Dragonborn, because again, this is just based on me. Human is not bad. So yeah, just from the player handbook, half orc, dwarf, dragonborn, human. Those races I could recommend playing a barbarian. Now there are some extra races from the Skag and from Volo's Guide and other books and supplements I could recommend. For example, Goliaths, not bad. Furbog is not bad either. But yeah, though, dear God, barbarians are so bloody epic. If you play a barbarian from level 1 to 20, you get so many cool abilities. It's a shame, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how Gregor turns out. Now, next week, folks, this is it for my video on the talking about barbarians. Next week, I will be talking about bards, the musical practitioners of magic. So, this is Willful Ninja signing out. May the force be with you, and remember, roll for initiative.